Hey, this is Matt with My Florida Homebuyers, and in today's video, I'm going to talk about the differences between selling your house to an actual cash home buyer versus working with a wholesaler. Now, if you're looking around on the internet for different companies to buy your house for cash in the Orlando area, you're probably thinking, well, they all look the same. They all offer the same things. They all promise to buy my house for cash. They all promise to buy your house as is with no repairs needed. And they all promise to close quickly and pay you cash, all that sort of thing. All of the offerings seem like they're the same, but there is a very important difference between an actual cash home buyer, like My Florida Homebuyers, and what we call wholesalers. Now, this house I thought would be the perfect place to shoot this video to explain the difference to you, because we actually purchased this house from a wholesaler, and you'll see how that ties in just a minute. So let's start by talking about actual cash home buyers. Now, at My Florida Homebuyers, we are actual cash home buyers. That means that we have our own cash, we have access to cash that we can use to actually purchase your house, close on your house, take title to your house ourselves, close in 7 to 14 days usually, unless there's title work issues. We can buy it in its current condition, we can pay you cash, all that stuff. We can do all that because we actually have access to the cash to do that, and we can actually close on your house. And you're probably thinking, well, isn't that what everyone does? Everyone's a cash home buyer, right? Well, not so. Not every company that advertises that they can buy your house for cash actually has the cash to buy your house. And that's the difference between a cash home buyer, an actual cash home buyer like us, and a wholesaler. So let me start off by saying that not all wholesalers are bad. There's a lot of great wholesalers out there, like the wholesaler that sold us this house. So this isn't bashing wholesalers. It's basically just letting you know that the company that you work with could be operating two different ways. They could be an actual cash home buyer versus a wholesaler. So what do I mean by wholesaler? So a wholesaler, basically what they do is they put themselves out there as a cash home buyer, like a We Buy Houses type company. They're gonna say, hey, we can buy your house for cash, close in 7 days. We'll pay all your closing costs, no repairs needed, that sort of thing. And they look the same as every other cash home buyer in the Orlando area, in any area. The difference between an actual cash home buyer and a wholesaler is a wholesaler doesn't actually plan to close on your house. So what their business model is, what they do is they put your house under contract, like the guy did with this house. So in this case, this guy put this house under contract with the people who inherited the house. He put it under contract with them for $150,000. This house is in the Orlando area. And then what he did was he reached out to us because he knows that we're an actual cash home buyer. We have the cash to close. And he said, hey, would you be interested in buying this house from me for $175,000? So we looked at the numbers, we came out and saw the house, and we saw what it needed, and we said, sure, we'll buy it from you for $175,000. And that's exactly what wholesalers do. Now, when he offered it to us for $175,000, he didn't actually own the house. All he had was a contract that said, it's basically the contract that he uses to put the house under contract in order to buy it from the owner. So he didn't actually own the house, he just had the contract. So basically what a wholesaler will do is they'll put the house under contract, then find an actual cash home buyer or an investor, someone who's willing to actually close on the deal, and they're basically just flipping the contract to that next person, and then they collect the assignment fee, basically, because they're going to assign the contract from themselves to the ultimate end buyer, which was us in this case. So in this case, he put it under contract with the sellers for $150,000. He then sold it to us for $175,000, all at the same closing table, by the way. So he'll show up, he'll sign the papers to buy it from the owners, from the sellers for $150,000, and then immediately sign the papers to sell it to us for $175,000. And then our money is actually the money that's wired to the seller. They collect their $150,000, he collects his $25,000, and we end up actually buying the house. So that's why I wanted to do it at this video at this house, because this is a perfect scenario, a perfect example of how wholesaling works. So like I said, we purchased this from the wholesaler. He collected his $25,000 wholesale fee, his assignment fee, and we actually own the house, the sellers probably have no idea that that actually happened. They think that he bought their house for 150 because it all happened right at the same closing table. Most of the time, you're not going to know about it. So you're probably thinking, well, why didn't they just sell it directly to My Florida Homebuyers, directly to the cash home buyer, and save themselves the $25,000? Well, that's kind of the point of this video is, if you contact us directly, if you contact an actual cash home buyer directly versus a wholesaler, you basically cut out the middleman, because a wholesaler is basically a middleman. He finds the seller and then he connects them with the buyer and he collects his assignment fee. If they had contacted us to buy this house, we probably would have been able to pay them the $175,000, because our numbers don't change. So we would have looked at the house and said, we'll give you $175 for it, and they would have been $25,000 richer in the end. So that's the obvious thing that you have to watch out for with wholesaling, because a lot of times you can get a better deal on your house if you go straight to the person with the cash and sell it directly to the end buyer. Now, there's another issue with wholesaling that we see a lot, and that is that wholesaling, like I said, there's a lot of good wholesalers out there, but it also lends itself to being a line of work where a lot of beginner real estate investors get into it, because it's so easy and you don't need your own money. Not that it's easy, but easy to get into, I mean. So you don't actually have to have your own money. You don't need your own cash to close on a house, because you're just trying to find another buyer to actually close, and then you can collect your assignment fee. So when you hear real estate seminars, become a millionaire in real estate investing without using any of your own money, a lot of times they're talking about wholesaling. So what happens is you have a lot of wholesalers out there who promise to close on your house. They say they're going to close quickly. They give you a closing date. And then what ends up happening is they can't actually find a buyer for the contract. And so if that happens, there's one of two things that they're going to do. They're either going to go back to you and ask for more time to close on the contract. And whether they tell you that they're wholesaling it or not, they'll come up with some reason why they can't close on time and ask for an extension, which can screw with your plans if you have already maybe lined up a moving company, or you've got a place to go and you need to close on that specific date. The other thing that can happen is if they realize like, oh crap, I put this house under contract for too much money and I can't sell it. They're going to come back to you and they're going to ask you for a price reduction. So in this case, if this wholesaler would have, let's say he put this house under contract for $190,000, he's probably not going to find a cash buyer to buy it for $190,000. Like I said, we bought it for $175,000. We couldn't have paid more than that. So now he's going to have to go back to the seller and say, hey, I messed up, whatever the case may be. I need to actually do a price reduction on this. I can't buy it from you for what I said I could buy it from you for. And those are really the biggest problems with wholesaling, not necessarily the fact that he collected the wholesaling fee. He did the work, he connected the buyer and the seller. That's fine. The biggest problem that we see is people contacting us saying, hey, I have my house under contract with this guy. It turns out that he didn't actually intend to buy it, and then he backed out at the last minute. A lot of times on the day of closing, they just don't show up, especially if they're these beginner guys who, they're fresh out of a real estate seminar and they don't know what they're doing. So that really is the biggest problem with wholesaling. Now, like I said, the purpose of this video is not to bash wholesalers. In this case, this wholesaler actually made the deal work. The people ended up getting the cash that they wanted, whether they could have got more or not. They walked away happy. They got their money, they closed, they don't have to deal with the house anymore. Their problem is basically solved. And they'll probably never go back and look to see that the wholesaler actually, flipped the contract to somebody else and that we were the ones that actually bought it. The point of this video is, if you need a guaranteed closing, a wholesaler is something that you need to watch out for. Like I said, there's a lot of great wholesalers out there, but there are more bad wholesalers than good wholesalers, just because it's so easy to get into. There's a lot of beginners out there trying to make their millions in real estate by wholesaling. That's where a lot of people start out. And you need to be aware that not all We Buy Houses type companies, not all cash home buyers are the same. A lot of them are wholesalers pretending to be cash home buyers. They all advertise to sell your problems or solve your problems, but the way they go about doing it and their ability to actually close on the deal and offer you a guaranteed closing may be limited depending on their business model. So at My Florida Homebuyers, we offer you a guaranteed closing. Like I said, we have access to our own cash, and we can actually close on the house. It's a guaranteed closing. We put money in escrow and everything. We can give you proof of funds, whatever you need to make you feel comfortable, but we're actually going to be closing on your house. We don't back out. And that's really the difference between dealing with us and dealing with, some of these other wholesalers. Most of the We Buy Houses type companies in the Orlando area and in Central Florida are wholesalers. Very few of the companies that operate in this area actually have their own cash and intend on closing on the house themselves. Actually, we're one of the very few. There's only a handful. And when you're looking online, you do a Google search for, We Buy Houses in Orlando, or whatever you search for, a lot of the companies that pop up are not going to be actual cash home buyers. A lot of them are going to be wholesalers. So I hope this video helps. Hope it clears up some of your questions, or maybe makes the process a little more transparent, so that you can see kind of what goes on behind the scenes with this industry. If you have a house to sell in Orlando, maybe you need to sell it fast, maybe you inherited it like these people did this house here. Whatever the case may be, we're actual cash home buyers. We'll come out, we'll take a look at your house. We'll give you a guaranteed closing on an actual closing date, and we'll buy your house from you. We'll pay you all cash. You don't have to make any repairs. This house was filled with personal property when we bought it, and we cleaned all that out for them. So you don't even have to clean out the house or anything. And right now with the whole coronavirus thing, if you need to stay in the house after closing for a period of time, we've been doing that as well. Closing and then letting you stay for a period of time to make that transition to your next home as seamless as possible. So again, my name is Matt. I'm with My Florida Homebuyers. If we can help you out in any way, go on our website, myfloridahomebuyers.com, give us a call, submit your property information online, and we will see if it's something that we can help you out with. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you on the next video.